Hi, it's July 6th, and today in queer TV history, 1978 was the height of Anita Bryant's nationwide crusade to have gay people fired from their jobs. And her campaign had strong support from the newly politicized religious right. In that environment, on July 6, 1978, NBC's Today Show interviewed the founders of Parents of Gays, a support organization that is now known as PFLAG. Those founders were Jean and Jules Manford, who we saw yesterday in a clip from 4 years earlier.
Among the many changes in our society in recent years, none is more emotionally charged than the decision of many gay men and women to come out of the closet. In parades like one held last month in New York and in private conversations with family and friends, more and more homosexuals are telling the world they're gay. What are the emotional consequences when they tell their parents? How does a parent cope with the news that their child is a homosexual? What should a parent do? Or is there anything to be done? Jean and Jules Manford of New York City had to face those questions about 9 years ago when they found out that their son Morty, who was then 17 years old, now 27, was gay. Well, since then they have helped to form a group called Parents of Gays with chapters now, I understand, in 50 different places, in different countries as well, to help parents who have just learned that their children are homosexual. We'll get to that group in a moment, but first of all, I'd like to find out how you found out that Morty was a homosexual, and were you thunderstruck?
We were very greatly surprised. We were told by his psychiatrist because Morty was uncomfortable about it, and he had to become comfortable with the idea. And that's how we learned. But
were you just surprised? Is surprised the right word to use?
Well, you know, I must say that my generation, at least I knew very little about homosexuality, and I have never looked down upon anybody. So I said, so this is what Morty is, and he's always been the greatest kid. He hasn't changed any in the last 17 years, and he's still great. And so I sat down and I started to read books and learn about homosexuality. And I learned a great deal. I must have read about 6 or 8 books that first summer.
I wonder if many parents, though, would have been so traumatized they wouldn't have been able to find their way to the library to find the books. You've got to be the exception.
Many parents are. But, you know, I know my son. I know that he's super. And he always has been from the time he was born.
Dr. Manford, I know a lot of fathers would react to the news by, some have beaten up their sons, some have sent brothers to beat some sense into a son who makes some kind of announcement. Were you, as a man, more threatened than your wife was?
I was more surprised. I had never had any idea that this was likely. The thought never entered my mind. I reacted more with bewilderment. It took me, I think, a year or two to really come around and understand all the various aspects.
Did you feel lost?
No, more bewildered and self-blame. I thought at the beginning that perhaps something I had failed to do in raising him, or perhaps some hidden hereditary fault might have been at cause. But later on, all these ideas were disabused.
Morty, what about you? Was it harder on you before your parents found out and you were just a teenager then? Or was it harder when they knew?
Oh, it was 100 times easier for me once it was out in the open, because I'd been playing games and hiding, afraid of losing the love that I'd enjoyed for my childhood.
It was necessary for your psychic development that Mom and Dad knew.
Well, finally, I didn't have to hide. I didn't have to be evasive. I didn't have to lie. I could be honest and forthright with those whom I loved the most. And that was a very freeing experience.
I still think that this family, the Manford family, is going to be very, very rare. You know, because you have an organization, Parents of Gays, that this is going to be traumatic. Does a parent have to endorse homosexuality in order to maintain a relationship with a son or daughter who's gay?
They have to in order to help other people.
But no, I'm not talking about helping other people. I'm talking about bringing a child back into the family.
There are many people who are loving and affectionate but insist on discretion.
Is that okay with your organization, or do you insist that they be public about their own child?
We can't insist. There are too many special circumstances in any family or job situation to make any blanket statements. As a general proposition, we encourage the getting together of a family, communications, We encourage forthrightness and openness and therefore promotion of integrity in one's life. In a more sophisticated society, perhaps.
You mean integrity? That means
Personally.
telling the Joneses next door. Guess what we heard about Sam or Judy?
No, that isn't necessary at all. You know, the most important thing is communication, love in a family, understanding, and respect. And so many, of course, when the parents come, they are full of guilt, they're ashamed, they don't want to tell the neighbors. And we try to relax them. We can understand their initial trauma, the surprise, and but we try to let them know that homosexuality is just another shade of sexuality. It is no better, no worse than anything else. Our children are as good as anybody's, and we love our children.
In 2005, the FX network debuted the reality series 30 Days, created and hosted by documentary filmmaker Morgan Spurlock.
I mean, it got me thinking, what if my girlfriend Alex was actually my boyfriend Alex? Would I lose any of my rights? Would I lose any of my friends? I'd definitely keep this mustache.
Each week's new participant would spend 30 days outside their comfort zone. For the July 6th episode, a devout conservative Christian farm boy who believed homosexuality was immoral was sent to spend a month in San Francisco's Castro district, sharing an apartment with a gay man. By then, that sort of thing was a reality TV cliché. But while most such shows sought to maximize conflict on camera to boost ratings, 30 Days seemed to be asking whether getting to know people who are different from us can inspire empathy.
That's just my view that saying a murder is wrong, homosexuality is wrong.
A murderer? I mean, someone who kills somebody?